1 year ago, Remy Ma went live and blew the whole Papoose and Claressa Shields situation wide open. And now, 1 year later, the crazy part is this. She may not be yelling on Instagram Live anymore, but she still seems to be finding ways to get her message across without saying Papoose's name directly. That is what makes this story so interesting, because at first it looked like a messy breakup. Then it became a cheating rumor situation. Then Claressa Shields got pulled into it. Then Papoose started defending his name. Then Remy dropped WYFL and reminded everybody that she still knows how to turn pain into bars. And now, after all of that, Remy is sitting on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's show talking about lyrical miracle rappers who may be talented but still are not making money. Now, come on, she did not say Papoose's name, we're going to keep it fair. But when you know the history, when you know the timing, and when you know what fans have already been saying, it is not hard to understand why people heard that and said, wait a minute, was that about Pap? Welcome back to Shade Re. I'm Marcus Hale, and today we are looking at this whole situation 1 year later, because this is not just about Remy Ma, Papoose, and Claressa Shields anymore. This is about image, money, ego, public embarrassment, and who really controls the story after the breakup. Let's go back for a second, because the date matters. Around this time last year, Remy Ma went on Instagram Live and addressed the Papoose and Claressa situation in a way that had the internet locked in. She talked about the divorce, she talked about wanting peace, she talked about being separated, she talked about the image people had of her marriage versus what she says was really happening behind closed doors. And that moment changed everything. Before that, a lot of people still saw Remy and Papoose through the old black love lens. They were the couple people rooted for. They were the couple people used as an example. Papoose was seen as the man who held Remy down. Remy was seen as the woman who came home and rebuilt her life with her husband beside her. That was the brand. But once Remy started speaking, that brand cracked right in front of everybody. And that is why this story still has legs 1 year later. Because what a public couple sells the world a love story, the breakup does not just feel like a breakup. It feels like people want to rewatch every chapter and ask what was real and what was just for the cameras. That is the part Remy and Papoose cannot escape. Now, fast forward to 2026, and Remy is not doing the same exact thing she did last year. She is not sitting on live for over an hour breaking everything down piece by piece, but she is still making comments that fans believe connect back to Papoose. And the latest one came during her appearance with Fat Joe and Jadakiss. Remy was talking about rappers who might be nice with the words, but who never really turn that skill into revenue. She said, "I don't care how nice you are, how spiritual, lyrical, miracle, put them all together." Then she talked about getting to a point where it is not creating income, it is not creating revenue, and people are in their 40s or maybe 50s still trying to make it happen. That is a sharp comment. On the surface, that could be a general hip-hop conversation, and honestly, it's a real topic. There are plenty of rappers who can rap very well, but the business never lines up. They have respect, but not money. They have bars, but not hits. They have a name, but not the kind of career that changes their life. So yes, Remy could have been talking generally, but the internet does not hear comments in a vacuum. The internet hears timing. The internet hears history. The internet hears tone. And when Remy Ma, who is publicly separated from Papoose, starts talking about lyrical rappers in their 40s or 50s who are not creating revenue, people are going to connect that to Papoose. Because Papoose has always been known as a lyricist. That's his lane. That's his brand. People respect him for bars. People respect him for being a real rapper. But Remy's alleged shade doesn't attack whether he can rap. It attacks whether being able to rap actually turned into money and power. And that's a different kind of hit. Because if you tell a rapper he can't rap, he can argue with that. He can drop a freestyle, he can point to verses, he can pull out old tapes and prove he has skill. But if you say the skill didn't turn into revenue, that's harder to fight, because now the conversation is not about talent, it's about results. And that is why fans reacted so quickly. A direct diss is loud. A subliminal can be even more dangerous, because it makes everybody start doing the math themselves. People replay the clip, they ask who she meant, they compare the ages, they compare the careers, they pull up old interviews, they remember old rumors, and suddenly, one comment becomes a whole conversation. That's how shade moves in 2026. And this is why the 1 year mark matters. 1 year ago, Remy was talking about divorce, separation, and the emotional side of the relationship falling apart. Now, a year later, the tone feels different. It's less about heartbreak and more about reputation. It feels like Remy is not just saying this marriage ended, it feels like she is saying the version of him you believed in was not the full story. That's a much bigger statement. Because Papoose's public image was powerful. He was not just known as a rapper, he was known as a loyal husband, a patient husband, a man who held her wife down while she was away, a man who showed up, a man who made loyalty part of his brand. So when the breakup got messy, fans were shocked because it challenged years of public storytelling. And now, Remy's comments, whether direct or subliminal, seem to keep challenging different pieces of that image. The loyal husband image? That got questioned when the Claressa Shields situation became public. The ghostwriter image? That became a major talking point when Papoose allegedly suggested he helped write for Remy and Remy pushed back hard. The provider image? That keeps coming up whenever money, jewelry, lawyers, or career revenue enter the conversation. And now, with this lyrical miracle comment, fans feel like Remy may be poking at the rapper image too. That is why this is not just regular gossip, this is a full image breakdown. Now, to be fair to Papoose, there are people who still respect him. A lot of people still believe he is a real lyricist. A lot of people still believe he did hold Remy down in real ways. And some fans feel like Remy is being unfair after shading him publicly after years of benefiting from that loyal husband image too. That side exists. Some people think Remy is hurt. Some people think she is bitter. Some people think she is trying to embarrass him because he moved on with Claressa. And some people feel like if she is truly at peace, she should stop giving the situation energy. But then there is the other side. Some people believe Remy stayed quiet for a long time to protect the image. Some people believe she is finally telling pieces of her truth. Some people think Papoose was able to look like the good guy for years, while Remy had to carry the public judgment. And those fans feel like if Pop can speak, Remy can speak too. That is what makes this complicated. Nobody in this story has a completely clean public lane right now. Everybody is protecting something. Remy is protecting her legacy, her pen, and her version of what happened. Papoose is protecting his loyalty image, his rapper image, and his relationship with Claressa. Claressa is protecting her pride, her relationship, and the idea that she is not bothered by the internet noise. And the audience is sitting back trying to decide who looks the most believable. That is the real battle here. It's not just Remy versus Papoose. It's not just Remy versus Claressa. It's a battle over perception. Who looks hurt? Who looks guilty? Who looks free? Who looks like they're telling the truth? Who looks like they're trying too hard? And once a story becomes about perception, every little sentence becomes important. That is why Remy's comment on Fat Joe and Jadakiss's show landed the way it did. She did not need to scream, she didn't need to pull out receipts, she didn't need to say, "Papoose, I'm talking about you." She just made a general point about certain rappers and fans filled in the blank. That is clean shade if it was intentional. And the setting matters too. She was not on a random gossip live stream. She was sitting with Fat Joe and Jadakiss. These are respected New York hip-hop voices. So when Remy talks about rap skill, money, and career results in that room, it carries a different weight. It sounds less like a rant and more like an industry opinion. And sometimes that hits harder. Because when somebody is angry, people can dismiss it as emotion. But when somebody sounds calm and makes a point, people start wondering if there's truth behind it. That is what makes this dangerous for Papoose's image. Papoose can respond to cheating rumors, he can respond to timeline questions, he can say certain stories are false narratives, but when the conversation shifts to career success, money, and whether lyrical ability paid off, that's a harder public debate to control. Especially when fans already know that Remy and Papoose were together for years. Remy didn't watch his career from a distance, she lived close to it. So if people think she's speaking from experience, that gives the comment more weight. Again, that does not make it automatically true, but it does make people listen differently. And that's where Claressa Shields still hangs over the story. Even when Remy doesn't mention Claressa, Claressa is still part of the bigger picture because she's connected to Papoose's new chapter. So anytime Remy talks about Papoose, people wonder how Claressa feels watching it. Does she see it as an ex-wife still throwing shots? Does she think Remy is trying to embarrass Pop? Does she ignore it because she feels like she already won?
Or does she feel pressure because the internet keeps pulling her into a story that started before her public relationship with Papoose? That is the uncomfortable part. Claressa Shields is a world champion. She has her own career, her own legacy, and her own name, but this relationship pulled her into hip-hop gossip in a way that boxing never could. Now every post, every live stream, every caption can be read as a response to Remy. And that has to be exhausting, even for somebody as confident as Claressa. But Claressa also knows how to talk. She has already shown that she is not afraid to clap back. She can be direct, she can be bold, she can be messy if she feels disrespected. So fans are always waiting to see if she will say something when Remy's name starts trending around Papoose again.
That is why the triangle keeps moving. Remy speaks, people look at Papoose. Papoose speaks, people look at Claressa. Claressa speaks, people look back at Remy. Nobody has to say all three names for all three names to be in the room. And that is exactly why this story is still clickable 1 year later. Because it is not just about what happened, it is about what people still believe happened. It is about what was hidden. It is about who got embarrassed. It is about who moved on first. It is about who looks happier. It is about who is still bothered. Now here's my take. I think Remy knows exactly how her words are going to be received. She has been in this game too long not to know. She knows the blogs are listening. She knows fans are connecting every comment back to Papoose. She knows if she says lyrical miracle and not creating revenue, people are going to start whispering his name. So, even if the statement was general, I think she understood the door she was opening. And that is what makes Remy dangerous in this moment. She does not have to give a full interview about Papoose. She can just say one industry comment and let the internet do the rest. But there is a risk for Remy, because if every public conversation turns into a Papoose headline, then she stays tied to the breakup too. And at some point, fans may ask if she is really moving forward or if she is still fighting the old version of the story. That is the thin line. On one side, Remy is controlling a narrative. On the other side, she's keeping the drama alive. And for Papoose, the line is just as tricky. If he responds, it looks like Remy hit a nerve. If he stays quiet, people say Remy got the last word. If Claressa responds, people say she's fighting his battles. If nobody responds, Remy's version keeps floating around unchallenged. That is the trap. And that is why subliminals can be more effective than direct attacks. A direct attack demands a direct response. A subliminal creates pressure without giving the other person a clean target. So, 1 year later, where are we? Remy is still speaking, but in a more controlled way. Papoose is still trying to protect his name and move forward. Claressa is still connected to the story whether she wants to be or not. And the public is still trying to figure out who really won the narrative. Because 1 year ago, Remy's IG Live changed the way people looked at the marriage. But now the question is different. Did Remy expose the truth, or is she still trying to make sure Papoose never gets to walk away with the good guy image untouched? That is the part people are debating. And honestly, that is why the story hasn't died. It has layers, it has history, it has love, betrayal, ego, money, music, and public image all mixed together. And when a story has that many pieces, even a small comment can bring the whole thing back to life. At the end of the day, Remy's latest alleged shade may not be explosive like her IG Live. It may not hit like a full diss track, but it might be just as effective because it attacks the one thing rappers care deeply about: respect. Not just respect as an artist, but respect as a man, respect as a provider, respect as somebody whose talent actually turned into something. And if fans believe Remy was talking about Papoose, then she did not just throw shade at his career. She questioned the value of the image he's been carrying for years. That is why this one matters. So now, I want to know what you think. 1 year after Remy Ma exposed the Papoose and Claressa Shields drama, do you think she is still hurt, or is she simply telling her side piece by piece? And when she talked about lyrical miracle rappers not creating revenue, was that really a general hip-hop opinion, or was that a quiet shot at Papoose? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one is not just about a breakup. This is about who gets to control the story after the love story falls apart. This is Marcus Hale with Shadery, and I'll catch you in the next one.